In this video, we're going to finish up our notes on parabolas. So the next example says to use a function grapher to graph the parabola of y minus 4 squared equals 8 times x minus 3. So in order to use your graphing calculator, you're first going to have to solve this equation for y. So in order to solve this equation for y, since this side is squared, you're going to have to take the square root of it. Remember, when we take the square root, we get plus or minus 8 times x minus 3 equals y minus 4. Then to solve for y, we're going to add 4. So we have y equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 times x minus 3. So you're going to then go to your graphing calculator under y equals, clear out whatever's in there. I first have to stop my app. Go to y equals, clear out what is in there, and you're going to put in your two separate equations. 4 plus the square root of 8 times x minus 3. And then you're going to put in 4 minus the square root of 8 times x minus 3. And then you're going to hit graph. My parabola, or my window isn't in a normal window, so I'm going to hit zoom 6 to get it in a 10 by 10 window so that I can see my parabola a little bit better. If you want an even better graphing window so that you can kind of see that part of the parabola is missing, if you go to window and do -1 to 7 for your x, and then go from -2 to 10 on your y and hit graph, it'll show it even better for you. So the key is when we graph it, we're looking to solve for y, and then when you sketch a graph of it, your graph doesn't have to be perfect. You can go to your table, get 3 points off of it, and sketch a graph of it. So remember, to get to your table, you hit second graph. Always start with your vertex as one of your points. Example 7 says find the focus of the parabola given by y equals -1/2 x squared minus x plus 1/2. So in order to find my focus, essentially I have to find what my p-value is. So in order to find that, I am first going to get rid of my fraction here. So in order to get rid of my fraction, I'm going to multiply everything by -2. So I have -2y equals x squared plus 2x minus 1. So if you look at your parabola equation, it's y 4py. So here I'm going to go ahead and add 1. So I have -2y plus 1 equals x squared plus 2x. I'm going to complete the square, so I'm going to take half of b and square it and add it to both sides, which leaves me with x squared plus 2x plus 1. I have to add 1 on the other side also. I'm going to factor the right-hand side, so that factors to be x plus 1 squared. I'm going to combine like terms here, so I have -2 times y, oops, I shouldn't have put a parenthesis, -2y plus 2. To get this in the correct form, I'm going to factor out my -2. So I have y plus 1, and then I have x plus 1 squared. So I need to figure out my vertex, and I need to figure out what p is. Well, my vertex is at h and k, which I put the wrong sign here. This should be a minus sign. So that should be, my vertex should be at -1, 1. Then to find p, well, I know 4p has to equal this right here, which is -2. So I divide by 4, so p is equal to -1/2. So I have to find my focus point. So if you go back and look at your first set here, this parabola is going to open up. This parabola is going to open down. It's going to figure out my focus point, okay? My focus point, if you look at your thing, is h comma k plus p. So h is for sure, your h value is -1. My k value is 1 plus p, which is -1/2, which means my focus is going to be at -1 and 1/2. So that would be where your focus is located. On the next one, it says, prove that the graph of y squared minus 6x plus 2y plus 13 is a parabola. Find its vertex, focus, and directrix. So in order to prove this is a parabola, we're going to write it in standard form. So I am going to get all my y terms on the left-hand side and my x terms on the right-hand side. So I have y squared plus 2y equals 6x minus 13. I'm now going to complete the square, so I'm going to take half of b and square it. So I'm going to take half of 2 and square it, which gives me 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So when I do this, on the right-hand side, I'm going to end up with 6x minus 12. On the left-hand side, I'm going to have y plus 1 squared because I factored that side. Then to get it in the standard form, I take the greatest common factor of these two terms, which is 6. So I have x minus 2, and then I have y plus 2 squared still on the, or I'm sorry, y plus 1 squared on the right. So this tells me this is a parabola because I only have that y squared term, and my x term is going to be, I'm not going to have an x squared because, like I said earlier, for a parabola, you either have an x squared or a y squared. So my vertex is h and k. H is your x value vertex, which is 2, and your y value is -1. Your focus, this parabola opens to the right. So it's a left or right parabola. So to find your focus, it's going to be h plus p comma k. So I have to figure out what p is. Well, to figure out what p is, I know that 4p has to equal 6. So to solve that, I'm going to get that p is 3/2. So I'm going to take 3/2 and add it to 2, which is going to give me 7/2. And my k value is -1. Then to find your directrix is going to be a vertical line. For your directrix, it is x equals h minus p. So x equals my h value, which is 2, minus 3/2, which is going to give me 1/2. So my directrix is that x equals 1/2. The final example that we're going to talk about with parabolas says, on the sidelines of each of its televised football games, the FB-TV network uses a parabolic reflector with a microphone at the reflector's focus to capture the conversations among players on the field. If the parabolic reflector is 3 feet across and 1 foot deep, where should the microphone be placed? Okay, so the key is that the microphone needs to be placed at the reflector's focus. So we know that it tells us it's 3 feet across. So picture this is a parabola with a vertex at 0, 0. Okay, so my parabolic reflector, okay, is going to look something like this. I know from end to end, it has to be 3 feet. And then it tells me it's 1 foot deep. So from here to here is 1 foot. So I need to figure out what P is going to be, because P is going to tell me help me figure out where I should place my microphone. So in order to do that, I'm going to use, this parabola is going to open upwards, so I'm going to use x minus h squared is equal to 4p times y minus k. Well, h and k are going to be 0, so I know x squared is equal to 4p times y. So in order to figure out p, I need to know an x and a y, which I can figure out an x and a y on this graph, because this point right here, if you take that this whole thing has to be 3 feet across, and we know a parabola is symmetric across its vertex. We know from here to here is going to be 1.5 feet. So the x value would be 1.5 squared is equal to 4p times your y value, which is how far up you go, which is 1. So y is 1. I'm going to solve this for p. So I get 2.25 equals 4p. Divide by 4. So P is 0.625 feet. So P, remember, stands for your focal length. So this is in feet, okay? If we wanted to, we could convert this to inches by multiplying it by 12. So if I multiplied this by 12, I would get that it is 6.75 inches. So the microphone should be placed inside the reflector along its axis and be 6.75 inches from the vertex.